Shabbat shalom, everybody. This is Rav Shmuel, Rabbi Stephen, with you with this week's 10-minute Torah. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good holiday season and hope you spent it with people you love, people in your family. So, family's a tricky thing, isn't it? Um, we want to spend time with our family members during this time, during any time. And for some people, family has different definitions. So, we all have people that are family, bloodline family. We all have people who are so close to us, they might as well be family, right? So many people have different expressions of what they do and with whom they spend their time, right? But it's very important. It's good to have that familiarity. That's the word that the word family comes from, familiarity, right? The mishpacha, as we say in Hebrew. And it's a very special time. Um, we also have family members. Some are a little bit more special than others, let's say that. But in our sense of humanity, everybody's got their point of view. And what did our forefathers, our great sages, our great rabbis tell us? Don't judge someone until you've walked from their place. And the Native American First Tribes, they've said, don't judge a man or person until you've walked in their moccasins, walked a mile in their moccasins or some such thing. So it's always good at this time of year. Now, of course, in Judaism, we do this when we have our high holidays. But there's no reason why we can't do it when the secular New Year comes around, right? When we reevaluate and we say, before we judge somebody, before we react, let's, take a time out and let's see where they're coming from. Okay. So it's a good way to start the new year. It's a good reform. It's a good way to build on relationships. Let me make one more comment for the new year. Now, I don't really proselytize much. Actually, I kind of do in certain cases. And here's this case. People don't believe how old I am. People don't believe that I'm 70 years old. I just turned 70 because they see my physique. I'm not going to go into my body composition, but it's astounding for somebody my age. Why? Because I work out, because I exercise, because we eat right. We've started eating natural foods, and by natural I mean organic, and we don't overdo the indulgences too much, and make sure we get plenty of rest. And I'm going to encourage people to think about, not to think, but to adopt that lifestyle, a new lifestyle. When you look at the high cost of healthcare, one of the reasons it is so high is because 30% of Americans are obese. People don't take care of themselves. And I know working out can be kind of a pain. You're sweating, it's uncomfortable. Start slow. Do something you like to do. You will start to see the benefits within a couple of months. You will start to see your weight drop. You will start to see yourself having more energy, and you will have a better quality of life. So, one of the things I wanted to leave you with, aside from the wonderful spirituality that we discuss every week, is this idea of getting yourself healthier. You'll be happy, your medical costs will go down, and you'll live a better life. Okay, speaking of living a better life and speaking of family, let's talk about Jacob. Jacob is coming to the end of his life as the book of Genesis comes to the end. And Jacob is going to bless his sons. He's going to give them all blessings. But first, he's going to actually adopt Joseph's sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, as his own. Why? Well, I mean, think about it. All the other 11 sons had sons. Why not make them part of his legacy, right? Because Ephraim and Manasseh, and we say this as a blessing when we do the Berchat Chabanim, or the blessing of our kids on Shabbat, is because they maintained Jacob's and Joseph's legacy in Egypt, in a foreign land where idolatry and paganry was the order of the day. The Egyptians were pagans. They didn't believe in a one true God. They believed they worshiped natural forces like the sun, the moon. They worshiped animals. That's why when the 70 souls coming down to Egypt, they had to put them someplace where they were out of the way, like in Goshen. Yeah, it had great pastures, but it was also away from the Egyptians. I mean, if they saw these guys hurting their gods, my gosh, that would have been the end. That would have been it. That would have been it, right? So they maintained that idea of the one true divine God, of divine justice, of righteousness, right? Of respecting people as they were, who they were. And that earned them, aside from the fact that they were Joseph's sons, that earned them a position as being one of the ancestors of the 12 tribes. Now think about this. Joseph was basically Jacob's protege. While the other sons were off doing the grunt work, they were doing the real work of supporting the family by being shepherds. Jacob and Joseph would study. And isn't it interesting that one of the surviving tribes are not Ephraim and Manasseh, or the half tribes as we call them, or Jacob? It is actually Judah. Judah apparently either had the fortitude, the religious, or the spiritual stamina to maintain, to not just be familiar with the principles that Judaism embodies, but also that righteous spirituality. Remember, he and Reuben were two of the brothers that didn't want the rest of the brothers to kill Joseph. He stopped them from doing it. Judah also went off by himself, and we have a discussion a few parshas ago where he goes off and apparently he was disgusted by what happened to Joseph, so he went off and separated himself from his family for a little while, engaged in business with some other guys, but he came back. But he still had the presence, okay, the moral fortitude to be able to recognize when he had done something wrong. And perhaps that's why, out of everything that's going on in the Torah, we take a sidebar and see what Judah is doing. All right. So Jacob's going to bless the sons, but first he wants to adopt Ephraim and Manasseh, not just as his grandsons, but as his sons. So they too, because he sees in them the greatness to continue the legacy along with the other 11 sons. Okay, so that brings our count to 13, doesn't it? Actually, it brings it to 14 when you think about it. We have, let me see if I can get this right. Okay, we have Reuben and Shimon and Levi and Judah, Zebulun and Issachar. We have Joseph and Benjamin. We have Dan and Asher. We have Naphtali, and I know I'm missing one. You got me. But I'm thinking of the two sons that one of the other maidservants had. Okay, Dan and Asher, Naphtali, and Don and Asher, Naphtali, and okay, well, if you think about it, let me know, and I'll probably look at it after this is over. But in addition, we now have Ephraim and Manasseh. So how does that work? Okay, those were the 12 tribes. Okay. And a lot of times the tribe of Joseph is counted when we're talking about the tribes. When Levi is not counted as a tribe, and Levi is not counted when they're talking about land apportionment, because remember, Levi does not have land. They are scattered amongst the tribes because they're there to teach Torah, and they're there to help guide them spiritually. So when that happens, we are left with only 11 tribes, or 10 tribes actually, well, 11 tribes, Joseph, that would have the land. So they take the tribe of Joseph and divide it up into the half tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh. So that's how we always have 12 tribes. If it's land, if we're talking about a land apportionment, we're talking about we divide up Joseph, the tribe of Joseph, into the two half tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh. When we're talking about just the 12 tribes, then we include Joseph and we include Levi, even though they are the Kohanim and the and the priests. Okay, so this was family, and we learn a lesson from family, because what happens? Okay, they're jealous of Joseph. They want to get rid of him. And it turns out he's gone for a good 12, 18 years, whatever. Yeah, about 12, 14 years or so. 2 years with Potiphar, 12 years in prison, 14, and then 2 years into then 7 years into the years of plenty. And then we have the famine and they come back. So they've been without him, but they're reunited. And look at the beauty, okay, of the reunion when they come back to Joseph and Joseph reveals himself, and now they're going to live happily ever after. So at this time of year, which this is coinciding with, let's think about that. My original message at the beginning of this podcast. Let's think about family. Let's think about trying to forgive people and understand. Now, yes, there are some people you can forgive, but they won't do it. But let's give people a chance. Okay. Shabbat shalom. Thank you for listening, and we will talk again.